This video is about large patterns, and I've got an example here that I'm going to show you in TVTY. And I've got a couple of charts already set up, and the large pattern is right here in this area on the trend chart. You may have heard me, we basically have a high right leg W, and typically this is you would think that this is a strong pattern for a response, and you can see that you do get 3 green candles the next day, but they all gap down before they start up the next day. So there's something in the movement that wasn't as strong as other movements might be. So this is the point that I'm trying to make, and that is that all gap or all large patterns may not function like you think they should function. And so on this vertical pink line, the situation is that the response that we get is with obviously the band lines are climbing up. Let me comment too. I was looking at the trend, or at the trend red line, and we're under the 150 when we're down in here, and that you may have heard me say before that when you're under 80 up to about 180, that's the sweet spot of the trend red. The reaction to that can usually be good, and you don't know that it's going to be a gap, but it's typically many days up, especially when you get something like this. And correspondingly, power pink is lowest, and power pink is a deep cycle indicator along with swing gray, and so it tells us that we've had a significant amount of power in this movement, and now it's starting to go up because the vertical white line is on the day when we have a small green candle just starting to go up. Now, the other thing I'll point out here too is that when you're seeing this movement, you can obviously, when you're seeing the trend red at minus 150, that's going to be one of your better examples of an uptrend, and it shows up over here on the zip chart right here, and on the power chart right here in your twin yellow lines. When they are lowest and going up, you're in an uptrend. And we, just for clarification purposes, keep in mind that the Zip Green and Zip Zion are your buyers going in and out of the market. At 100, Zip Green is with buyers entering the market, and we discount those lines when we're looking at the twin yellow lines. And in other cases, the same thing. I'll give you an example. Right here, I'm going to move the pink line over to this day right here. Zip pink come out, poked its head out above the other lines that were going down. Your red and gray lines at the top. And those red and gray, are leading indicators, and when they start going down, that's telling you something. Because look we've on this pink vertical pink line day, we have a nice green candle. So you ask yourself, well, how can zip gray and zip red go down, other than they're really fast lines, and they give us that telltale story about what's going to happen the next day. And the next day it actually doesn't go down much, but it is a red candle. But we have identified the start, and that's what sensitive indicators are all about. Also on this day, with the pink vertical line, we have Zip Zion that has reached 100, and that's a signal. It's not a guaranteed signal, but it is a signal that tells us that many times the next day price is going to go down, because it's real hard for Zip Zion, which also is which is a line that tracks buyers in and out of the market. And when that's at 100, Zip Zion when it's at 100, it's hard for it to stay up there. And when it's at 100, Zip Zion is the grandfather of Zip Green. And so when those two are real high, there are a lot of people going into the market. And for some reason, the indication, the explanation is, as we understand it, is that it goes down the next day. And when your Zip Pink pops its head out above your Zip Red and Zip Gray, that's like an automatic. It's going down. Now there are other situations. I'll just kind of comment here about it. When Zip Pink stays up high and Zip Green goes down, it's an example of strength in a movement. And by that I mean, typically when you see Zip Pink stick out as Zip Green and all the rest of the colors are going down, so Zip Pink is then highest. When you have that, you have a really strong movement. Oftentimes your Zip Green is at 8 or 10 days at 100. And so you know that there's been a really strong push. And what's happening is, even though buyers are dropping out of the market, when we see the Zip Green drop, we know that the Zip Pink, the price, stays up. And so there are others buying in that particular situation, and we call that a pink diving board. And pink diving boards represent excessive pressure in the market, and they appear both at the top next to Zip Green at 100, and at the bottom when Zip Green is at 0, this pink diving board will stick out. Both places just is defining stronger pressure than what we identify with. And the sensitive indicators tell us things are going up, but there's just undue pressure. You might say there's some equilibrium issues, or however you want to look at it. Just be aware that when you see those pink diving boards, they're really identifications of strong cycle continuation patterns. So I explained a few other things there that I just happened to see that I normally would not, but I did want to share that with you as we were looking at large patterns, because this was kind of a video about why large patterns may or may not work. There's other conditions that would that may or may not tell us that we need to do or not do something. So, but remember this area here where we have the trend red really low. Those are classic examples, especially when it's over 100. Not when it gets into that 250 or 600 down. when it's down that deep, it's going to be down there a while. So don't mess with when trend red is way down there. That sweet spot is, like I say, between 80. Sometimes it's even between 60. And you'll see some decent movements even when trend red is at minus 40. But when it's at minus 150, like it is in that range right now, that's when you get decent uptrend movements. And that's it for this video. We will see you on the next video.